The sun set over Bramblewood, painting the village in hues of crimson and gold. The air was thick with the sounds of celebration, laughter, music, and the steady beat of drums. Yet beneath the surface, there was a tension, a nervous energy that even the festivities couldn't dispel. It had been a year since Samuel, Martha's husband, had been taken into the sacred grove, the heart of the tradition. Chosen by the village elders through a seemingly random draw, Samuel had entered the grove and never returned. Martha had watched helplessly as the man she loved disappeared into the shadows of the ancient forest, and she hadn't heard from him since. Since that day, Martha had been searching for answers. She had pored over every old book, spoken to the elders, and listened to every whispered rumor. All she found were fragments of a story, a curse, an ancient pact, a debt owed to something dark and unseen that lurked within the grove. Her mother, a stoic woman named Evelyn, often spoke in riddles and seemed to know more than she let on. One evening, as the festival reached its peak, Martha's grandmother, Agnes, known to everyone in the village as Old Aggie, called her over. Agnes was feared and respected in equal measure. She had always been shrouded in an air of mystery. Under the flickering lamplight, Agnes whispered, "Martha, stop looking for answers that can only bring you pain. The grove has been hungry for centuries, and it will not rest until it is fed." Martha's heart clenched. But why, Granny Aggie? Why Samuel? Why does anyone have to be taken? Agnes hesitated, her gnarled hands trembling. Her face was a map of old worries and secrets. Finally, she sighed deeply and beckoned Martha closer. "It's time you knew the truth, but once you hear it, there is no turning back." Agnes's voice lowered to a whisper. Long ago, when our ancestors first settled in Bramblewood, they discovered the sacred grove. It was a place of beauty and tranquility, with ancient trees and a river that shimmered under the moonlight. But beneath the beauty lay something darker, something older than time itself. Martha leaned in closer, her breath catching in her throat. One night, a young woman named Lila, who was the pride and joy of the village, entered the grove, drawn by a voice calling her name. She was found the next morning at the grove's edge, her eyes wide with terror, her mouth frozen in a scream. Lila was the first victim, and she was my sister. Agnes paused, her eyes misting over with old tears. The villagers, desperate to end the terror, sought the help of a wandering mystic. He warned them that the grove was cursed. A dark force had been awakened, bound to the land by ancient magic. To appease it, a sacrifice had to be made every year, a soul chosen by the village. In return, the village would be spared its wrath. This was the pact, a pact sealed in blood. Agnes's voice quivered, her face a mask of fear. Every year, the grove takes someone. But the truth is, the choice is not random. The entity senses those with strong spirits, those who could challenge it. Samuel, he was strong. It sensed his courage, his defiance, and it took him. Martha felt a chill run down her spine. But what does it want, Granny Aggie? What happens to those who are taken? No one knows, Agnes replied, her voice barely audible. But those who enter the grove never come back, at least not as they were. Determined to find Samuel, Martha made up her mind. As the festival's noise reached a fever pitch, she slipped away into the night, her younger sister Alice by her side. They moved quickly through the village, making their way toward the edge of the sacred grove. The air grew colder with each step, and the grove loomed like a wall of shadow, its trees swaying in the wind, whispering secrets to the night. They stopped at the entrance, feeling an invisible force pushing against them, as if the grove itself wanted to keep them out. But Martha took a deep breath and stepped forward, pulling Alice along with her. The darkness swallowed them whole. The deeper they went, the thicker the shadows became. The trees seemed to bend and twist toward them, their branches like skeletal fingers. Faint whispers filled the air, growing louder with every step, speaking in a language neither could understand. Ahead, a soft glow appeared. Martha hurried toward it, pulling Alice behind her, and the light grew brighter, revealing a clearing. At its center stood a stone altar, covered in moss and etched with strange symbols. Surrounding the altar were the faces of those who had been taken over the years, their expressions frozen in silent screams. And there, among them, was Samuel, his eyes wide, his face pale. A cold laugh echoed through the grove, sending a shiver down Martha's spine. The ground trembled, and from the shadows emerged a figure cloaked in darkness, an entity that seemed to be woven from the very fabric of the night, its eyes glowing a deep, malevolent red. "You dare enter my domain?" it hissed, its voice like the rustling of dead leaves. "You seek your husband, but you do not understand. This grove is mine, and those taken are bound to me forever." The entity's laughter deepened into a low growl. "I do not torment. I am bound by a curse as much as they are. A curse cast by those who betrayed me, those who bound me to this grove, to hunger forever, unless I am freed." Martha's eyes widened. "Freed? How?" The entity moved closer, its form shifting like smoke in the wind. "A bloodline must break the pact. The one who enters willingly must face me and survive." Martha realized the significance. She had entered the grove of her own free will. She was the one chosen to break the curse or be consumed by it. She glanced at Samuel, standing among the spectral figures, his face contorted with a silent plea. The entity's eyes flashed with a sinister gleam. "Very well, but know this, no one has ever survived." As the entity lunged toward her, shadows curling into sharp tendrils, Martha felt an invisible force trying to pull her into the darkness. But she thought of Samuel, his courage, his spirit, and knew she could not give in. The ground beneath her began to crack, roots twisting up like skeletal hands. The air grew thick, and Martha felt her heartbeat pounding in her ears. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small silver pendant that Granny Aggie had given her. Martha held it high, and the pendant began to glow with a blinding light. "From someone who knows your true name," she whispered, remembering Aggie's words. The entity recoiled, and the grove seemed to tremble. Martha stepped forward with renewed determination. "Leave this place," she commanded, "or face the light." The entity screamed, a sound that shook the trees, and for a moment, Martha thought she saw a human face beneath the shadows, a face twisted with rage and fear. The shadows twisted, writhed, and began to retreat, the entity slipping back into the darkness from which it came. The faces around her softened, the pain fading from their eyes. Samuel's eyes blinked, life returning to his gaze. The curse had weakened, but Martha knew it was not over. To be continued. The tradition was only the beginning. The true secret of the grove was yet to be revealed. The entity had been forced to retreat, but it would not be defeated so easily. What was the full story behind the pact, and who would pay the final price? Martha would need more than courage to uncover the truth.